sensory overload. I've never worked on a set like that in my life, and I don't know if I will again.
I think it's interesting too because the scope of it's so big, but then there are also these really great intimate moments, and sometimes it really just boils down to you and another actor.
I play Kemen. He is a Númenórean. His father is a powerful political figure on the island, Pharazon. He is looking to follow in his footsteps, but he doesn't necessarily understand what that means at this stage. He is young, he's been born into a golden age and a position of immense privilege, and he's just enjoying being incredibly comfortable. But as the show goes on, he's going to be shaken out of that space and forced to step up.
And I play Princess Disa of Khazad-dûm, Moria, in the Dwarven Kingdom. She is wife to Prince Durin IV, played by Owain Arthur. She's a mother and she is a princess in a position of power at this time alongside her husband. We see her navigating the politics of the kingdom with Prince Durin, whilst having her own kind of story and ambition and journey to get to the best possible outcome for her world.
I play Pharazon, and Pharazon is the Chancellor of Númenor, the head of the Guildsmen. He's the consul to Queen Miriel, who is the Queen Regent. She's acting in the stead of her father right now, who is very ill, Tar Palantir. I guess it's my responsibility then to make sure that everybody in the island kingdom of Númenor gets along and is all pushing in the same direction.
And I play High King Gil-Galad, and I'm King of the Elves. Just straightforward. What are my characteristics? Kingly. I'm elfish.
I'm Rob, I'm playing Elrond, who is a half-elf. He's young in elf years, and he's sort of beginning his career, I would say. He's curious about other peoples and wants to forge new relationships.
I play Marigold Brandyfoot, and she is a half-foot. She is a mother and a wife, and she is very dedicated to keeping her family safe and together and living the same way of life that she's lived for generations. She has a very wry sense of humour, but she's often not allowed to show it because her husband is the clown of the family. So hopefully she can show a bit more of that as the episodes progress.
I'm Cynthia. I play Queen Regent Miriel, and she is the Queen Regent of the island kingdom of Númenor. Númenor is Tolkien's version of the Legend of Atlantis, which many people might know how that ends, but we're going to have a very interesting sort of road ahead in how we unfold this story. She's a thoughtful leader. She is someone who wants to do right by her people, and
I'm playing a shadowy character called the Stranger, who's enigmatic as his title suggests. He's sort of unknown origins. He is searching really for his identity, really to try and understand, although I think he has a deep sense of his purpose, but he's really searching to find out where that's going to lead and how, his power then manifests in the communities.
I'm Owain Arthur, and I play Durin. Durin is a dwarf he's a prince, and he lives in Khazad-dûm.
My name is Ema Horvath, and I'm playing Earien, and she's Elendil's youngest child, Isildur's younger sister. And she's more or less superhuman. She's Númenórean, and she lives on the island of Númenor.
Hi, I'm Ismael Cruz Cordova, and I play Arondir, the Sylvan Elf, tasked with watching over the people of the Southlands, and who gets involved in a forbidden romance with one of them.
Hi, I'm Markella Kavenagh, and I play Nori Brandyfoot, and she's a half-foot, and she has an innate curiosity and is trying to balance a dedication to family with a longing for adventure.
I'm Charles Edwards. I play Celebrimbor, who is an elven prince, and he is a renowned jewelsmith. And there is some involvement with various small golden items later in the story. A quality that defines him, brilliant.
We're talking about your character, Charlie, not you.
All of it.
All of it.
I'm Megan Richards, and I play Poppy Proudfellow. She is a half-foot. She is very cautious and observant, but she's also very loyal, and I'd say that is what defines her. The friendship between her and Nori, played by Markella Kavenagh, is so strong, and the bond that they have is so true and runs so deep. Poppy would be nowhere without Nori.
My name's Lloyd Owen. I'm playing Elrond, who is, as we see him in the beginning of the series, a capable ship's mariner, trying to deal with the loss of his wife, he's widowed, and dealing with his adult children, one of which is Isildur, another one which is Anarion, another one which is Earien, who's the daughter that we have created for this show. Isildur, as some people might know, is a very naughty boy. No, that's not true. Aragorn is my 38th great-great-great-great-grandson, and that's where we start to see Elendil in this show, but he's living with the battle between his head and his heart and trying not to get sucked into the politics of Numenor and keep his family safe. Whether he's going to be capable of doing that or not, we have to find out.
And I'm Nazanin Boniadi, and I play Bronwyn, a human from the Southlands, whose ancestors historically chose the side of evil over good and were banished to barren lands and had to rebuild their lives. And so she's sort of trying to redeem her people, and she's in a forbidden romance with an elf tasked with watching over the Southlanders, and a single mother to a rebellious teenage son. She's a healer, and I would say she is defined by her tenacity.
So I'm playing Galadriel, who is one of the oldest elves in Middle-earth. She's older than the moon, and she is kind of convinced that there is an evil rising, but nobody really believes her.
I play Halbrand, and he is a human from the Southlands. He is at a point in his journey where he's leaving behind his past and he's moving forward towards a new life. Yeah, and then he meets a few characters along the way, and then a lot of things happen.
I am Maxim, playing Isildur from the island kingdom of Numenor, located just to the west of Middle-earth. Star-shaped island, Tolkien's Atlantis, and I play a sailor who is on the cusp of adulthood, trying to find himself, yearning for something else, and maybe leaving the island.
But what impressed you the most about the scale and scope of the project while you were on set?
I mean, when you're working on a project this big, you're working with thousands of people, and that's something that I have a huge wanderlust for people. So that was wonderful, like a huge array of skills and personalities, because you need such diverse abilities within a film set. So yeah, it was the people element of it that blew my mind.
Yeah, and the craftsmanship, I think, is seeing the people at work doing these things that they've trained for their whole lives, and seeing the detail, and it felt like a real privilege to be able to put on an item of clothing that's been worked on by someone that's dedicated hours to making that one single garment, or step onto a set that, where the same thing has happened.
I have one sequence that took up, I reckon, a third of my days on the shoot. I can't talk about it. But I did stuff during that sequence that I'd never done before. But also just returning to, I live in Auckland, I'm a New Zealander. It's a studio I know well. I know that there is not actually blocks and blocks of a Numenorian city out the back of the studio. So to turn up to, what I am used to seeing as a car park and discover this incredibly rich, detailed living space with boats on water, with incense burning and all of the different side streets, it was a sensory overload. I've never worked on a set like that in my life, and I don't know if I will again.
I think for me as well, I had a day with Ken Blackburn, wonderful actor, a wonderful gentleman who plays Tar Palantir in it, and I'm there at his bedside, and I was listening to all the stories. He was in the original Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson films back 20 years ago, and he was talking to me, telling me stories and everything, and I had a lovely day listening to that and stuff. That was a real honour to be at his side there listening to that, and this wonderful gentleman that had this gravitas and this wonderful energy about him and stuff. That was lovely to back with him for that day.
Thank you guys.
Nick Armstrong was not something I anticipated happening in my life. To get to be on set with this legendary stuntman being directed by him was the dream come true.
And I know, most of you guys have been on this project for about 2 years, maybe longer. Now that it's finally coming out, looking back, what experiences making the series stand out for you the most?
It's been an epic. The size of the shoot. If I was doing location work and they wanted some mist, it wasn't a case that the sort of mist sausage that sort of runs along and has little holes and the sort of smoke comes out was from here to that wall over there. It was that it went up over that hill, up over the next hill, up over the next hill, and you had mist in the surrounding valleys. The size of the thing was incredible. And people talk a lot about money, I think, with the show, but what for me has been unbelievably brilliant is that when you look at the finished product, you go, well, clearly, you needed to do that. You needed to have these amazing scenes of the New Zealand landscape, really, really pulling us into Middle Earth, and I remember standing on hillsides with, multiple massive crane lights, the like of which I'd never worked with before, and it was, utterly mesmerizing and intoxicating.
Yeah, very much so.
I think it's interesting too because the scope of it's so big, but then there are also these really great intimate moments, and sometimes it really just boils down to you and another actor.
Yeah.
And so it's both the largeness of the story and then these smaller, more humane moments. And I think you can appreciate both of those things, and you'll definitely see it in the series. You'll see both of those things represented.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and congrats on the show, and good luck with everything going forward.
Thank you.
Each of us, every one, must decide who we shall be.
Obviously, this is such an immense show in terms of the size and the scope of everything. For each of you, how much did the writers tell you about your character beforehand? Was there sort of a history that you knew about your character, and how much were you able to kind of discover some of that stuff on your own?
For myself, there's not a lot actually written about Durin IV. It was, as an actor, kind of great. It means that, all right, the creative side then now takes over. I don't have to stick to the rules, So, and Patrick and JD, I think they enjoyed writing for Durin because you can just feel it when as you're reading it, and that's quite infectious. As are they, as showrunners, infectious and passionate about this project. So it was. It was enjoyable, to be able to portray this and try and keep as much sincerity as possible. Did I answer your question?
Well, no, if you guys don't mind answering as well, how much did they kind of talk to you about your backgrounds and stuff, and then how much was sort of just you kind of creating it on your own?
Well, I play an original character, so there's nothing about her, but there is a little bit about my father and my brothers. But it is in these sort of encyclopedic, very dry history forms. So most of the helpful stuff that came from the books was sort of the society, Numenor as a whole, the whole story, and the ethos of that people. The majority of it was really just spending time with Lloyd and Maxim. The sort of task this season was just to create a believable family, and that those relationships are believable. And so that is something that is done sort of internally without anyone nudging us in any way, just spending time.
I also play an original character to the show, but I am part of a peoples that has a lot of mythology. So for me, it was very freeing as well. But even what I know for all of us, we are actors, and we're concerned with things that are more essential to the parts that we play, like honesty, truth, and why do our people do what they do. So that's how I approach this guy, what moves him, what drives him, and what makes him a warrior, on top of living in a sense of in an eternal being. What is that? So it became also like a philosophical / spiritual journey that continues, because I have no answers for that. You know, so I'm the beauty of it is that I get to continue to play inside this structure.
I think, similarly to all of what you said, and particularly something that just stuck out for me that Emma just said about creating believable relationships with characters that you interact with the most. And I was really grateful to act with Megan a lot. I'm not sure if you've seen, and Megan Richards, who plays Poppy, who is just a brilliant actor and so present. And it was really quite amazing to be able to just catch up with Megan or grab dinner or with Daniel Weyman, who plays the stranger, and say that was research. And be able to call just us hanging out research, because truly that was, especially because I'm also a character a non-canon character.
This show is so massive in scope, and obviously took up, I guess, maybe about 2 years, maybe more of your guys' lives. Looking back now, I mean, what were some of the defining experiences for you on set?
I think probably. I mean, it's amazing to think that timescale that you just mentioned. I mean, it was a year ago. I remember flying back, I think a year ago, having just finished shooting. So it's a year since we finished. But many, I'm sure many of us might say the same thing. Seeing the world in which we were going to be acting, seeing the sets for the first time was pretty extraordinary, because these sets are huge and they are so beautiful and so detailed. That if you're in a forest, you're in a forest. It's really stunning, and I still to think back when I first saw my workshop, which is where he spends all of his time, was a really defining moment in that if you find a little part of your character is in the moment you see it is completed or defined in that moment. You go, right, I'm that person. Oh look, I've put that over there. You know, I've keep that in that drawer. All these little decisions are made for you by the art department, and you go, great, that's perfect, lovely. So it's a real collaboration as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and congrats on the show, and good luck with everything going forward.
Thank you
so
much.
Thank you.
My brother gave his life hunting the enemy. His task is now mine.
Speak your truth. We already know.
Stand with me. Ours was no chance meeting.
Search your mind.
Not fate.
It's written in gold.
Nor destiny. Ours was the work of something greater.
Don't say no. Let it unfold out. And we'll take the embrace and still
Each of us, every one, must decide who we shall be.
I
am not the hero you seek.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
One day this will be your kingdom.
Raise your sail and then let go.
Choose not the path of fear, but that of faith.
One thing we can do, better than any creature in all Middle-earth, we stay true to each other with our hearts even bigger in our feet.
We can survive this. You and I.
Commander! Wait! No! We keep moving!
Why do you keep fighting?
There is a tempest in me.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Without it, what am I to be?